Let's go step by step and see how they took over. For first, education. You said in documentary that this generation, what was protesting in 1968, went all to the education. That means their ideas now came to the universities and they start to teaching children about their ideology.
Yeah, these radical leftists, they tried to stage a communist revolution in America in the 60s, and that's why a lot of that unrest on the streets was due to that. Some of these people were actually terrorists that murdered people, that bombed buildings. They didn't end up getting put in jail for very long. They ended up in charge of, colleges of education. And so if you capture the method, you capture the way that the teachers are educated, then you can eventually capture education itself. And I'm not saying this to be rude to anyone, but I don't know how it is elsewhere. But in America, unfortunately, generally people who go into the teaching profession are not like the smartest people in the world. They're more on the average. So they're more malleable, I think, in the hands of the education that they get. And listen, I have a sister who's a school teacher, and she's fallen for all this garbage. Communism always does the same thing. It promises all these good things to underprivileged people and oppressed people. We're going to help the oppressed. We're going to lift people up. We're going to make everything better for people. But it's a consolidation of power, and it always leads to tyranny.
They also see family as a big enemy. How they are planning and how they are presently taking over families.
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, so if you can frame the views of children from the youngest ages possible, if you can frame their views on sexuality, you have a lot of power in your hands. So even as far back as the early 20th century in Hungary, there was a communist, György Lukács, I think was his name, and he actually went into the schools in Hungary when they were trying to have a communist revolution at that time. It didn't succeed at that time. But he went into the schools and started teaching children very, very graphic sex education, and grooming them sexually to be exposed to all kinds of things that were not age appropriate whatsoever. And so he was experimenting with that tactic. So if you can demoralize the young people, if you can destroy their moral foundation, if you can frame their views on sex and sexuality in a way that's different than the dominant ideology, which is Christianity in the West, give them a different moral framework. That's a lot of power that you have in your hands. And now we're to the point between queer theory and gender theory, which are both Marxist constructs. I mean, the idea of gender has come under attack to the point where people don't even know what a woman is. So how can you have a normal, healthy family unit across society if people don't even know what gender is? So it's just created so much confusion in young people. And then also these young people are made to believe that people who believe in two genders, people who believe in the traditional family, that those people are oppressive, and they represent an oppressive system that must be rejected. So it puts a rift between the younger generation and the older generations. Another reason this is done is for that purpose, to separate young people from their families of origin, separate them from their religions of origin. Then they're vulnerable. They need someone to look out for them. They'll turn to the government. These young people are more easily radicalizable politically. And not all of them are going to go full crazy radicalized, but more of them do. And they're victims. These young people are victims of propagandists. And it's something that we really need to be able to wake up to and see, and we need to teach our children. I have an 11-year-old son who I homeschool. I don't want him exposed to all this stuff.
Yes, and they see that this traditional family, dad and mom, it's not really modern anymore. Now you can have all kinds of families, 2 mothers, 2 fathers, they can adopt kids. And it's getting more normal and normal. And we presently here in Croatia now have attempt to implement sexual education. They're calling this health education, but they are implementing for kids even below 4 years old. And before, family was one that could teach children for these intimate things. But now society. What is your experience in the United States? Because I see these things in Croatia and in Europe coming from the United States.
Well, I mean, it's really coming from UNICEF. It's coming from globalist entities, but yeah, the United States has fallen completely for this. So it's called comprehensive sexuality education, and it is designed to expose children again as young as possible, starting in preschool, exposing them to all the queer stuff, exposing them to like drag queens, exposing them to sexually graphic content in the books. I've even seen like homework assignments for little kids to go and experiment sexually with themselves and to report back to the teacher. I mean, it's just really like, like no normal person would think this is okay. It's one thing to not like bully kids who are gay. I certainly don't agree with bullying anyone, but we've gone to this far extreme where the kids are encouraged to experiment with their sexuality, experiment with their gender, and in some cases without the parents' knowledge at school. And the kids are told, "Oh, don't tell." My sister, even she had students in her classroom in California where they transitioned their gender socially, and they had a new name at school of the opposite gender that they were, but the parents were not allowed to know about this. It was just their little secret at school. I mean, really crazy, twisted things that is very normal now, all across America.